hold up. Is this a connection to Hetty? The idea that Dorian spared her as a way of procuring a new sensation, self-denial being that sensation? Is Oscar Wilde making a connection here? A method of procuring sensations. Do you think that a man who has once committed a murder could possibly do the same crime again? Don't tell me that. Oh, anything becomes a pleasure if one does it too often, cried Lord Henry, laughing. That is one of the most important secrets of life. I should fancy, however, that murder is always a mistake. One should never do anything that one cannot talk about after dinner. That's an interesting immoral statement from Lord Henry, who said mostly immoral things throughout here. But if he's a Satan figure, it's true. Satan never does anything immoral. He just talks people into doing immoral things on his behalf. And, maybe Lord Henry's a really good Satan figure because he never actually does anything. Dorian does it for him. But let us pass from poor Basil. I wish I could believe that he had come to such a really romantic end as you suggest, but I can't. I dare say he fell into the Seine off an omnibus, and that the conductor hushed up the whole scandal. Yes, I should fancy that was his end. I see him lying now on his back under those dull green waters with the heavy barges floating over him, and long weeds catching in his hair. Do you know, I don't think he would have done much more good work. During the last 10 years, his painting has really gone off very much. Dorian heaved a sigh, and Lord Henry strolled across the room and began to stroke the head of a curious Java parrot, a large grey-plumaged bird with pink crest and tail that was balancing itself upon a bamboo perch. As his pointed fingers touched it, it dropped the white scruff of crinkled lids over black, glass-like eyes and began to sway backward and forward. Yes, he continued, turning round and taking his handkerchief out of his pocket. His painting had quite gone off. It seemed to me to have lost something, to have lost an ideal. Of course, Dorian was that ideal. We all understand that. Dorian's innocence, rather, his perfection, his harmony of innocence and physical beauty was the ideal. And even though the physical element of the ideal never went away, the internal element went away, and Basil lost his relationship with Dorian because of it. Basil seems to be able to see beneath the surface, and Lord Henry either doesn't or doesn't care to. When you and he ceased to be great friends, he ceased to be a great artist. What was it that separated you? I suppose he bored you. If so, he never forgave you. It's a habit bores have. And by the way, what has become of that wonderful portrait he did of you? I don't think I have seen it since he finished it. Oh, I remember. You were telling me years ago you had it sent down to Selby and that it got mislaid or stolen on the way. You never got it back. What a pity. It was really a masterpiece. I remember I wanted to buy it. I wish I had now. It belonged to Basil's best period. Since then, his work is that curious mixture of bad painting and good intentions that always entitles a man to be called a representative British artist. Did you advertise for it? You should. I forget, said Dorian. I suppose I did, but I never really liked it. I'm sorry I sat for it. The memory of the thing is hateful to me. Why do you talk about it? It used to remind me of those curious lines in some play. Hamlet, I think. How do they run? Like the painting of a sorrow, a face without a heart. That's incredibly thematic, right? It's an allusion to Hamlet, of course. Maybe Dorian's a little bit of a Hamlet figure. We can go back and look at that. But the painting of a sorrow, a face without a heart. Ironically, I think the painting becomes a picture of a heart. And Dorian's face, Dorian himself becomes like a picture, a face without a heart. So is this a commentary on Dorian Gray or on Victorian humanity? Victorian humanity's all face and no heart? There's something to that. Or maybe humanity's all face and no heart in general. That is what it was like. Lord Henry laughed. If a man treats life artistically, his brain is his heart. He answered, sinking into an armchair. That's an encapsulation of Lord Henry's whole theory, his whole ideology through here. You can turn your brain into your heart. You can appreciate life through the intellect and therefore avoid all the sorrows and the sadness and the difficulties that life brings. And Dorian's been living it. How effective has it been for him? Again, I think this book was accused of being an immoral book when it was first made, but I think it's a supremely moral book. We're getting down to some of these moral lessons at the end. How happy is Dorian? How has his life turned out? He has everything that everybody could ever want. Eternal youth, freedom from repercussion for any of his actions, and what has happened to him because of that, and how does he feel about it? These are things that you want to think about as these last two chapters roll through. The elder man lay back. Oh, sorry, I skipped a bit. Dorian Gray shook his head and struck some soft chords on the piano. Like the painting of a sorrow, he repeated, a face without a heart. The elder man lay back and looked at him with half-closed eyes. By the way, Dorian, he said after a pause, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose, how does the quotation run, his own soul? That's a reference to the Bible. It's Mark 8:36. You can look it up. The line is, for what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Why does Lord Henry ask this now? Why does he say it with half-closed eyes? Is he Satan? Does he know? Is he putting these things psychologically out there to impact Dorian in just the right way at just the right time? It really seems so. But remember, it's a book, and Oscar Wilde can write it in any way he wants. And clearly he's giving Lord Henry some pretty powerful lines at exactly the right dramatic moment. The music jarred, and Dorian Gray started and stared at his friend. Why do you ask me that, Harry? My dear fellow, said Lord Henry, elevating his eyebrows in surprise, I ask you because I thought you might be able to give me the answer, that is all. I was going through the park last Saturday, and close by the Marble Arch there stood a little crowd of shabby-looking people listening to some vulgar street preacher. As I passed by, I heard the man yelling out that question to his audience. It struck me as being rather dramatic. London is very rich in curious effects of that kind. A wet Sunday, an uncouth Christian in a mackintosh, a ring of sickly white faces under a broken roof of dripping umbrellas, and a wonderful phrase flung into the air by shrill, hysterical lips. It was really very good in its way, quite a suggestion. I thought of telling the prophet that art had a soul, but that man had not. I am afraid, however, he would not have understood me. That's pretty funny. Art has a soul, but man is not. Given the picture of Dorian Gray, that it's a picture of his soul that is changing, it's incredibly prophetic. But it also fits with Lord Henry's theory. He could just be talking. This guy's a religious guy, and he's poor, and, he's a street preacher. He wouldn't understand any of this fancy stuff about art because he doesn't live an artistic life. He can't have the things. I mean, we've looked at the richness and the opulence of the upper class life and how they can have this artistic life that is completely unattainable to people like James Vane and Sybil Vane and their mom, the poor in general. Heady, if you will, if we're going to this chapter. Don't, Harry. The soul is a terrible reality. It can be bought and sold and bartered away. It can be poisoned or made perfect. There is a soul in each one of us. I know it. Do you feel quite sure of that, Dorian? Quite sure. Ah, then it must be an illusion. The things one feels absolutely certain about are never true. That is the fatality of faith and the lesson of romance. How grave you are. Don't be so serious. What have you or I to do with the superstitions of our age? No, we have given up our belief in the soul. Play me something. Play me a nocturne, Dorian, and as you play, and tell me, in a low voice, how you have kept your youth. You must have some secret. I am only 10 years older than you are, and I am wrinkled and worn down and yellow. You are really rather wonderful, Dorian. You have never looked more charming than you do tonight. You remind me of the day I first saw you. You were rather cheeky, very shy, and absolutely extraordinary. You have changed, of course, but not in appearance. I wish you would tell me your secret. To get back my youth, I would do anything in the world except take exercise, get up early, or be respectable. Youth, there is nothing like it. It's absurd to talk about the ignorance of youth. The only people to whose opinions I listen now with any respect are people much younger than myself. They seem in front of me. Life has revealed to them her latest wonder. As for the aged, I always contradict the aged. I do it on principle. If you ask them their opinion on something that happened yesterday, they solemnly give the opinions current in 1820, when people wore high stocks and believed in everything, and knew almost nothing. How lovely that thing you are playing is. I wonder, did Chopin write it at Majorca with the sea weeping round the villa and the salt spray dashing against the panes? It is marvelously romantic. What a blessing it is that we have one art left to us that is not imitative. Don't stop. I want music tonight. It seems to me that you are the young Apollo, and that I am Marsyas, listening to you. I have sorrows, Dorian, of my own, that even you know nothing of. The tragedy of old age is not that one is old, but that one is young. That's a paradox, but such a powerful paradox. The tragedy of old age is not that one is old, but that one is young. You're young inside, but you're trapped in an old body. I feel that. I'm only 42, but I feel that. I imagine I'll feel it worse when I'm 60. I'm amazed sometimes at my own sincerity. Ah, Dorian, how happy you are. What an exquisite life you have had. You have drunk deeply of everything. You have crushed the grapes against your palate. Nothing has been hidden from you. And it has all been to you no more than the sound of music. It has not marred you. You are still the same. I am not the same, Harry. Yes, you are the same. I wonder what the rest of your life will be. Don't spoil it by renunciations. At present, you are a perfect type. Don't make yourself incomplete. You are quite flawless now. You need not shake your head. You know you are. Besides, Dorian, don't deceive yourself. Life is not governed by will or intention. Life is a question of nerves and fibers and slowly built up cells in which thought hides itself and passion has its dreams. You may fancy yourself safe and think yourself strong, but a chance tone of color in a room, or a morning sky, a particular perfume that you had once loved, that brings subtle memories with it, a line from a forgotten poem that you had come across again, a cadence from a piece of music that you had ceased to play. I tell you, Dorian, that it is on things like these that our lives depend. Browning writes about that somewhere. But our own senses will imagine them for us. There are moments when the odor of white lilac passes suddenly across me, and I have to live the strangest month of my life over again. I wish I could change places with you, Dorian. The world has cried out against us both, but it has always worshipped you. It always will worship you. You are the type of what the age is searching for, and what it is afraid it has found. I am so glad that you have never done anything, never carved a statue or painted a picture or produced anything outside of yourself. Life has been your art. You have set yourself to music. Your days are your sonnets. What a great line. Life has been your art. You have set yourself to music. Your days are your sonnets. Dorian's life is a work of art. That's incredibly ironic and connects right back to our earlier chapters. Dorian rose up from the piano and passed his hand through his hair. Yes, life has been exquisite, he murmured. But I am not going to have the same life, Harry, and you must not say these extravagant things to me. You don't know everything about me. I think if you did, even you would turn from me. You laugh. Don't laugh. And why have you stopped playing, Dorian? Go back and give me the nocturne over again. Look at that great honey-colored moon that hangs in the dusky air. She is waiting for you to charm her, and if you play, she will come closer to the earth. You won't? Let us go to the club, then. It has been a charming evening, and we must end it charmingly. There is someone at White's who wants immensely to know you. Young Lord Poole, Bournemouth's eldest son. He has already copied your neckties and has begged me to introduce you to him. He is quite delightful and rather reminds me of you. I hope not, said Dorian, with a sad look in his eyes. But I am tired tonight, Harry. I shan't go to the club. It is nearly 11, and I want to go to bed early. Do stay. You have never played so well as tonight. There was something in your touch that was wonderful. It had more expression than I had ever heard of it in it before. It is because I am going to be good, he answered, smiling. I am a little changed already. You cannot change to me, Dorian, said Lord Henry. You and I will always be friends. Yet you poisoned me with a book once. I should not forgive that, Harry. Promise me you will never lend that book to anyone. It does harm. I'm going to pause it for a second. I got to